We've come back to LuLu Lake Preserve in Walworth County, one of southern Wisconsin's most pristine natural areas. As natural as this preserve is, there are a number of invasive species that threaten native plants. And in just a few minutes, we'll look at efforts to control some of those invasives. And then we'll turn the clock back to 1989 as Nancy Frank and I cook up a delicious rabbit recipe. But first, I'll take you fishing for Lake Michigan trout and salmon with Dumper Dan's Sportfishing Charters of Sheboygan and the high bidder for this trip at the MPTV Holiday Auction. I'm Dan Small, and it's time once again for Outdoor Wisconsin.
Summer to fall, winter to spring, from Green Bay to where the St. Croix sings, from Catamaran to Superior Shore. Outdoor Wisconsin, outdoor Wisconsin.
It's a gorgeous day out here on Lake Michigan. We're going out with Dumper Dan Sportfishing Charters out of the Port of Sheboygan. A regular trip that we do, and we've got two captains with us today. Dumper Dan himself, Dan Welch, and Matt Thayer, who's serving as first mate. Or we'll let you decide who's the mate and the captain
right,
today.
Exactly. You got Matt and myself today, and we're fishing an afternoon trip here out of Sheboygan today. And this season so far, a lot of different changes with our patterns, water temperatures, and fishing. One day it can be hot, the next day not, but we're out 7 days a week, so we're on top of what's going on. So we're anticipating some trout and salmon action this afternoon. We've been catching steelhead, coho, lake trout, and king salmon, so hopefully we get some variety today for you guys.
Well, Matt Thayer is getting ready to set out some lines. Matt, what are you going to do today?
Well, like Dan had said, our fish have been scattered this year. Water temperature is a structure that these fish relate to out here as compared to reefs or typical inland structure. So we're going to be fishing from the top, maybe 10 feet down on down to 100 feet down, and that's going to be suspended in the water column anywhere from 100 to 200 feet of water. So we're going to start with a mix of spoons, some flasher flies, some dodger flies, spread out throughout the water column to see what is happening this afternoon in particular.
Now, Jeff, you bought this at the holiday auction, I believe.
Yes, sir.
Absolutely,
the Channel 10 auction. Yep, it's a great show, and I love supporting the cause. So, looking forward to the trip today.
Well, who's up first, Jeff?
My brother Greg from Canada's first, and then Age Before Beauty, Neeler's second, and I'll be third.
All right. Do I get to fish in this rotation?
Absolutely.
After you.
You go before me.
No, I'm fishing.
You're for it.
Oh, no, you
Okay.
paid for this. You fish first. All right, we got our order. Matt's setting lines. All we need now are some fish. Hey, I think something's happening, guys. What are you doing back there, Greg?
Well, this one hit 81 feet down on the middle downrigger, so our deepest downrigger's set up on a flasher fly combination. Not sure what he is for a fish yet, but it's kind of fighting like a lake trout.
Looks like a lake trout.
Yep.
What we're going to do, the closer this fish gets to the boat, you're going to stay right against the back of the boat with me. At the last second, you're going to slowly raise that rod up, and then it's going to slide the fish up, keep him on the surface so I can net him. Okay, raise the rod up now, nice and easy. Up, up, up. I got him.
Nice.
All right.
There he is. Not a monster, but a nice lake trout. Good eater.
Yeah, well, that's a perfect eating size, you know?
It is, eh?
Yeah, absolutely.
Nice and tasty.
You can see right here we have a fin clip. Fish are fin clipped according to what hatchery and what year they're stocked. So if we felt a little bit motivated, we could go online and see what hatchery this fish came from and where it was stocked. Nice one.
All right.
All right.
Yahoo! Just a nice steady reel. So got him on there, keep cranking. Looks like this might be a different species of a trout. Before we caught a lake trout, this one almost looks like a rainbow trout. He's jumping back there. Rainbows are notorious for jumping in the back of the boat, behind the boat. So whatever he is, he's pretty good size. Get the board off. All right, now walk forward, walk forward. Yep, there you go. It's not that far behind the board, so.
We call that the fish dance there, Neil.
Yep.
3 steps back, 3 steps forward.
Oh, man.
Yeah, he's pulling. See, the lake trout, they don't pull quite that hard, but the rainbows do. They got power in them. Their tails are real powerful, and they jump and thrash pretty good. We got him. There he is, buddy.
All right.
We're gonna pull a little bit of line out of the reel. Hang on. You hang on to the rod. There we go. That's good.
There you go, brother. Oh, that's a nice
Look
one.
at that.
Wow, that's a beauty.
Woo.
There's your rainbow trout, or what some people call steelhead.
We could let that fish go because it'll come up the streams in the spring and spawn. I might have a chance to catch it on a fly rod. Wouldn't you?
No, I don't think we're gonna do that.
No?
That's quite
Okay.
a fish.
All
Wow.
right. Oh, it's a beaut.
Yeah.
That's a beaut. Hey, Jeff, I think you got a bite.
Yeah. So just take your time. You stick the rod butt in your belly button, lean against the back of the boat. That way you don't have to worry about bouncing around. A lot of times on turns that'll trigger a bite, you know, and it just did. So it's a nicer fish. Don't force them. Don't force them. Yep. You'd be surprised. All of a sudden the line breaks or the hook pulls out, and let him tire himself out. You know. Just don't you tire out.
Yeah, right about.
Ooh, nice one.
Wow.
This will be the biggest one.
Is it a burp?
I think so. Yep.
It's
Big-
got a flasher behind it.
nice
It's in
one.
something. It's in a copper.
Yep.
Let's go, Jeff.
Holy,
You're doing good, buddy.
yeah, getting there.
You got one color left.
One color.
That's only 400 yards.
Yeah.
I can see him, Bubba.
Come on, keep coming, keep coming. Don't do anything different.
Okay.
Here we go.
Oh.
Okay, now we're gonna pull
What do we got here, Dan?
lake trout.
Another
Neat,
nice
nice
lake
fish.
trout. Yeah.
I don't know if you want to hold them. I'll get the net out of the way.
Whoops, I hit the picture.
Do you want the hook?
No, I
Hold
don't.
them. Just put your fingers in deep though, or you'll fall right on the floor. Got him? Pinch him. There you go.
Got him. What?
Nice fish, Jeff.
All right.
Yeah, beautiful, guys. Awesome. Thanks
Good
very
job
much.
on that.
Fantastic.
Well, it says I'm only 471 feet from the fish. Oh, he's pulling pretty good. I don't know. Oh, there he is. Boy, he came at us there.
Yep.
Wow, did he ever.
Yep.
He's either really coming. There he is. There he is. Okay, there he is. Whew.
Hang on to him, Dan.
I got him.
All right,
Hey,
buddy.
crank, crank, crank. Okay, and I'll just raise the rod up slow. I got him.
All right.
Whoa, look, the
All
hook
right.
off in the net. Just
Oh,
like that.
yeah.
Way to go, buddy. Way to go.
Whoa.
Nice steelhead.
Nice fish.
That's what we came out here for. Oh, gorgeous.
Biggest drag dump.
I knew if I put the net away completely, we would get a bite.
Oh, nice.
Not bad. We'll take them.
Yeah,
Nice
very
fish.
good, Bubba. Way to go, dealer.
Yep.
Yep, now walk
Back up,
backwards.
back up, back up,
Walk
back up.
stop,
Before he
back.
flops. Before he flops. Keep coming. We got
I
him.
got him.
What do you got?
Lake trout.
Lake trout.
Oh, hey.
Better down, buddy.
Nice
Yeah,
job.
way to go, guys. Thanks.
You're gonna walk back real slow. Once that comes up, we'll get it clipped off the line, and then you'll have about 100 feet of line to the fish. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Keep them coming. Raise up the rod. Up, up, up. I got him. Okay, stop cranking.
Go, Bubba.
Another nice steelhead.
Well, Greg, another nice rainbow.
Yep.
Thanks, Dan.
Boy, good fishing today. But, a little tough, but it was fun.
Yeah, we've had some good action. If we'd have stuck all of them that we had bite, we'd have had a pretty good box, but we got plenty for dinner, so.
That's the way it goes.
Absolutely.
Well, Dan, thanks again for another great trip.
You bet. Thank you, Dan. It was a good time. I hope you folks all had a great
Had a
time.
great
and
time.
Great
Thank you.
time.
Nice
Great
afternoon. The
time.
lake's nice and calm, and we caught some fish and lost a few as well. Good action.
You bet.
Fantastic.
Thanks, Dan.
Thanks again for everything, buddy.
Paul Brown of Mankato, Minnesota, sent us this photo of Staples Lake in Barron County. He says it's a great place to take kids fishing because the lake is full of fish and the water is so clean. To email us a photo of your favorite Wisconsin scene, log on to mptv.org/outdoorwisconsin. Then click on Contact Us on the left side of your screen, or you can post your photo on our Facebook page at Outdoor Wisconsin. Be sure to include your name, where you live, and the county where your photograph was taken. We've come back to the LuLu Lake Preserve on the LuLu Lake State Natural Area, and I'm talking with Craig Annan of Integrated Restorations. Craig, tell us what you're doing here.
Here we have a very unique and rare type of wetland known as a sedge meadow, and part of it grades in, you can see where all the wildflowers are, into a wet prairie. And so far here we've documented at least 3 different at-risk species, and there's over 70 different native species. A lot of them have what we call a very high conservative value, meaning that they're only found in the highest quality undisturbed habitats. And the problem that we have here is there's a species of cattail called narrow-leaved cattail that's known as an invasive species. So it's aggressive, and it grows in and it displaces all of the good native species.
How did the narrow-leaved cattail get here?
Originally, we're not entirely sure, but it is believed that it was actually originally planted at the Arboretum at the University of Wisconsin-Madison as more or less just a showpiece species, and then from there it escaped. And another thing that ended up happening is that it hybridized with the native cattail that was originally in Wisconsin, creating a hybrid cattail, which is also very aggressive and invasive. And we found a couple of them here because we have both the narrow-leaved and the broadleaf cattail, and we found some of the hybrids, so we're controlling them as well, but fortunately that population's a lot smaller here. Eventually, if we keep letting this invasion occur, we're going to have a wetland that's just nothing but a solid stand of these narrow-leaf cattails, and all of the at-risk species of plants, plus all of the additional species at higher trophic levels that this wetland supports, won't be able to inhabit this area anymore. And this has been happening throughout Wisconsin for decades now, and this is a very rare type of wetland because most of the original acreage of these sedge meadows has been converted into solid monotypic stands of invasive species. The real challenge at this site was to develop a method to control this invasive aggressive cattail without causing any harm to any of the non-target good species that we want to keep around. The way we can tell the different cattails apart is by looking at the flower heads. We have the female flower on the bottom, or the pistillate flowers on the top. This one's a little further gone into senescence, but it's the staminate flowers. And then there's a gap in the non-native species in between, which you can see right here. So generally, if the cattails have a gap, it's one of the bad cattails, either the hybrid or the narrow-leaf cattail.
Okay.
So
how are you controlling it?
All right, what we essentially do is Amanda here is going to clip one of the cattails, and then Dave's going to come by and apply the chemical to the stump. And what we've done is modify our sprayer with a polypropylene drip guard, which essentially just made out of an old bottle of water, and that directs the herbicide onto the treated surface so it doesn't spread out and cause damage to neighboring plants. It takes about 3 weeks for the herbicide to work. And this herbicide also translocates very well, which means that it moves around in the underground roots and rhizomes of the plants very well. So by just treating a couple of the stumps that we end up cutting, we can kill the entire clone rather than having to use a lot more herbicide. So in effect, we end up cutting down the amount of herbicide that we end up using to accomplish this goal.
What is this product?
This product is an herbicide approved for use in aquatic systems called imazapyre. And we've also added a sticking additive to it called induced pH, and what that does is enables the herbicide to physically adhere to the treated surfaces so that it doesn't wash off of the plant in any time in 24 hours. If there's dew in the morning, for example, you can have some of the herbicide might wash off the plant and get into the environment, and this prevents that from happening. So it's judicious use of herbicides toward a directed target.
Does this herbicide biodegrade?
Yes, yeah, it's broken down by microbes in the soil generally within about a year. We're also combining this into like an active research project. No one, to our knowledge, has ever tried this exact approach on these cattails so far. And what we found, we began last year, and it's already gotten really surprising and encouraging results. After it was burned this spring, we came in the spring and we looked at it, and we were just amazed at how much it recovered and how much the cattail was suppressed. And in fact, it was so good at not causing any damage to the non-target species that we saw 4 pale green orchids, which is a threatened species in Wisconsin, in the treated area this spring.
It's not too wet here.
It's been a dry year too.
Yeah. So what are we seeing here?
Well, the area you see in the foreground is the area that we worked on last year. There are still some cattails left, but those are the native or the good cattails that we want to be in here. The area in the background where you can see the cattail invasion is really moving in. It's almost a solid stand of cattails. So this is the area that we treated last year, and then following the burn, you can see it came back to the native sedge meadow community that is the target community for this project.
So then you're going to continue treating this across the entire basin here?
That's correct, yeah. The entire marsh is going to get treated, so over a several-year period, and then we'll have some follow-up work too.
So what's the long-term prognosis here? Are you going to be able to eradicate the narrow-leaf cattail?
That's a good question. It's always difficult to say because there's so much cattail in the surrounding landscape that there's always going to be the chance that seeds and various other propagules are going to be moving into this site. But we can at least get this invasion under control and have it at an easily manageable level year by year. These natives essentially won't be pushed out of this site, and that's a good thing. Plus, this can serve as a reservoir for seed collecting to reestablish these natives in other high-quality wetlands in southern Wisconsin as well, so that we can get their populations back up and hopefully get them off of the threatened and endangered species list.
There's a lot of brush behind me here at LuLu Lake Preserve, and that's what you're looking for if you're a rabbit hunter. We're featuring some of our favorite archival segments again this year, and this week we go back to 1989 for one of our most popular cooking segments as I join Nancy Frank in the kitchen to prepare a delicious rabbit recipe.
Of all the wild game that I prepare, I think that rabbit is one of my favorites. Not only is it a very juicy meat, it doesn't dry out as much as some of the other kinds of meat that I prepare, and it also is a very tasty meat, and it combines well with other flavors. This recipe is one that combines that flavor with onions and mushrooms. And Dan, if you'd like to start slicing the mushrooms, we can get them into the pot and start them sautéing.
Okay, now this recipe calls for 2 rabbits, and I'm slicing up 8 large fresh mushrooms, slicing them nice and thin so that they'll brown quickly on both sides. And what have you got, 1 onion there? 1
medium onion, and we're going to chop it rather than slice it.
Okay.
And saute it in butter, and sometimes I use a combination of oil and butter so that it doesn't tend to burn the onions as much. Onions and butter are sometimes a deadly combination if the fire is too hot. Now we are using a fry pan, electric fry pan, and this can also be prepared on the stove top in a large cast iron skillet or large covered frying pan.
Or even a Dutch oven, I suppose.
Or a Dutch oven,
sure.
That would work equally as well. We'll want to saute the onions until they are tender, and we'll combine them with the mushrooms and probably cook them till they get to be a golden brown.
Right, right, and that should go quickly. The onions take a little longer, that's why we start with those. I'm just about done with the mushrooms, and then I'm going to start dredging the rabbit in flour. I've seasoned the flour with salt and pepper, and you can add other spices if you like, but I like to keep my spices to a minimum to not cover up the delicious flavor of cottontail rabbit.
Oh, these onions smell good. They're getting in my eyes just a little bit.
Now, don't cry.
They do smell good.
Okay, there, the last of 8 mushrooms. Tell me when you're ready for those.
All right. Why don't I move this over to this side?
All right.
And I'll swap your cutting boards.
Okay, now I'm going to start working on the rabbit. I've got the seasoned flour, and as I mentioned, 2 cottontails cut up into serving-size pieces, and we'll just roll it, each piece once in the flour, and we'll put them in a bowl here so that they all start at the same time and have an equal shot at getting brown. If you start some pieces too soon, it may take you 3 or 4 minutes to get the whole thing in there, and you may have them overdone, whereas the last ones might not be brown enough. So we'll start them all at once.
I think we're ready to add the mushrooms into the pan here.
That smells good already.
Yes, it does. Turn the heat up just a little bit more.
Now we're using cottontail rabbit. This recipe would work equally well with snowshoe hare or even with young jackrabbit. So any rabbit that you're fortunate enough to harvest will produce an excellent, tasty recipe in this rabbit with sour cream sauce dish. I bet you could even use it with squirrel, but I've never tried that. Now, if you cut the rabbit up into 6 pieces, you'll find that 2 or 3 pieces will serve each person. I've got a dozen pieces of rabbit, so you do the arithmetic and figure out how many people you could serve with this recipe. How are we doing there?
Well, the mushrooms are going to take a little bit longer.
Okay.
Keeping them moving so that they don't get too brown. Onions are coming along well.
Now, what else goes into this sauce?
What we will be adding is a tablespoon and a half of onion soup mix, and that combined with the other flavors with the sour cream will be about all. We will also, for a little bit of extra liquid, be adding some chicken bouillon.
Okay. I'm done dredging the rabbit. That's all set.
Now this dish, once it's complete, we'll be serving over either a bed of rice or on biscuits or even wild rice.
I'll bet you could, sure.
I think that would be very tasty, or even some rice potatoes. That might be very good. Sour cream tastes good on baked potatoes. I can imagine it would taste very good on rice potatoes as well.
Sour cream tastes good on anything.
It's an awfully good flavor. I think maybe we can pull the mushrooms and onions off, and then we'll need to brown the rabbit in the pan. Now they'll cook a little bit more once they're in the pan with the sour cream.
That's right. Want me to give you a hand with that?
Sure. Why don't you maybe take the spoon?
I got it. Okay, here we go.
There we go.
Boy, that smells good.
Mm-hmm. Those mushrooms look nice, too, when they're sliced crosswise like that.
Big, fresh mushrooms are my favorites, I think, as vegetables to add to any game dish. Okay, that can sit there and wait. I think you'll probably want to put a little more butter in there, won't you?
Yeah. Now, we'll want to brown the rabbit, not to a crispy brown. Just sear the outside with the butter.
Ready?
Let's go ahead, yeah.
Okay.
Turn it up a little bit higher here. We won't want to, with butter, you won't get as crispy of a brown as you would with a hot cooking oil.
It's important to remember when you're cooking with butter to keep that heat low enough so that you don't burn the butter. It's an easy thing to do.
That's right. We're going to be able to fit it all in
I don't know. It's going to be tight. These are big bunnies.
Now, where did these rabbits come from?
These are rabbits that we harvested in farm country on a winter hunt, and they were fat and young, and they will be tasty, believe me. Okay, now that needs to brown. It'll take a few minutes, right? And now what do we do with the onion soup mix? We've got to mix that with the bouillon. Okay.
We'll need a tablespoon and a half of the onion soup mix.
One and a big half. How's that?
Okay, and then we'll mix that in once we have everything in the pan.
Okay. And of course, there's one other ingredient, and that's the sour cream.
That's right.
That's all set. Sour cream's here, and now we're waiting for the rabbit to brown.
I think it's probably brown enough where we can add the mushrooms and onions back into the kettle here.
Okay.
And we'll cover all of the meat if we can, so that those juices can go down in among the pieces.
And now the bouillon?
Yeah, I think I'll turn this down just a little bit so we'll have it on a simmering fire. The bouillon and soup mix. Onion soup mix. Ooh, that looks good.
And finally,
And the pièce de résistance, the sour
you
cream.
do the sour cream, and I'll get the top to this fry pan.
Now we'll be leaving this covered for about an hour. And at that point, it should be all set to eat. Now we may want to open the lid a few times and spoon some sour cream back up over the pieces. As it warms up, it will probably melt and go into the gravy. Oh, that looks good.
Boy, I guess. I'll set the cap it
There
off.
we go.
All right. Deerfest has a new date and location. And this year, Deerfest will be held August 8th through 10th at Washington County Fair Park in West Bend. I'll be there all 3 days, so stop by our booth and say hello. To learn more about LuLu Lake Preserve and this week's other features, visit mptv.org/outdoorwisconsin. You can also watch past programs on our website, and you can contact us there or on Facebook at Outdoor Wisconsin. Tell us what segments you'd like to see again, and we might feature them on an upcoming show. And you can help celebrate our 30th anniversary with your own Dan Small bobblehead. Order online at mptv.org. Just click on the Store tab. Well, next time, Judy Nugent visits a winery in Door County. I'll fish for white bass on Lake Winnebago with Steve Mortensen, and we'll turn the clock back to 1989 as Nancy Frank goes kayaking on Lake Superior. I'm Dan Small here at LuLu Lake Preserve in Walworth County. Join us again next week for Outdoor Wisconsin.
When the work in life is way too much, you're in too deep, way out of touch. Lace up your boots, get out of town, walk in the wild, or sit down and listen. Listen to the sounds of the critters of the night, to the wind and the leaves and the little river run. Coyote brother howling in the moonlight. Outdoor Wisconsin. Hike, fish, hunt, camp, sail, canoe, ski, photograph, laugh, do what you want to. Stick your nose where the wild rose grows. Outdoor Wisconsin. Outdoor Wisconsin.